world, my name is Nicholas Montez, and you're watching my YouTube channel, The Teenage Movie Critic, and welcome back to another YouTube channel, everybody. Now, in today's video, I wanted to do a fun movie ranking. In the upcoming weeks of going to Disney World, I decided to do something a little fun, and basically, watching the Disney movies that are based off of theme park attractions that I haven't seen. So that includes the Pirates of the Caribbean films, which I actually did a ranking on a couple weeks ago. And I also watched the other films like Mission to Mars, Country Bears, Tomorrowland, Tower of Terror, and all these other films. And of the only films that I've seen that were based off of Disney theme park attractions were Jungle Cruise and the 2 Haunted Mansion films. But now I've seen all 13 of these Disney theme park adaptation attraction movies. So with that said, let's go and get started ranking all 13 of these movies. And yeah, this movie is just kind of terrible. It's just the special effects of these bears was terrible. The actual story here, I didn't really connect with it. And even with the attraction at Disney World that I went to go see, I think it's just one of the weirdest attractions ever. I just don't understand the whole concept of this, and honestly it was just kind of boring, so yeah, it comes in last place. Now, I would say this is a much of a better movie, and I probably would put it a little higher. And honestly, going into it, I was like, what is the whole deal of Tower of Terror? And it's basically this hotel with an elevator that is haunted. And I think that's kind of an interesting concept. This movie reminded me a lot of the sort of spooky episode of Suite Life of Zack and Cody when they're trapped in the hotel or in an elevator. It reminded me a lot of that. But overall, it just didn't really... The characters I just never really cared about. The actual story here just never really fully was developed all that well, but it's at least better than Country Bears. Now, Pirates of the Caribbean, the first pirate movie that we're talking about in this list, and I think Dead Men Tell No Tales was kind of an odd film for the pirate franchise. And even to that, I feel like that all the characters are just kind of acting weird. You don't really have that sense of fun and adventure with it. The action just doesn't really feel like it's handled well. Some special effects with like water was kind of cool, and the images down below were kind of cool. And also, this one just also proves my point that I'm just not a huge fan of Javier Bardem as an actor. And this was in the same movie of the director that directed The Little Mermaid, and he was also in that film. So I just never was a big fan of Javier Bardem, but overall, it's an okay Disney film. So now pretty much this is where the list just kind of starts to get a bit better, as pretty much these next couple films I think are a bit good. And Willow and the Wisp or whatever, I believe this is based off of the Splash Mountain ride, because it has like all these name characters that sound familiar to what the characters are on with Splash Mountain. And I think it's a pretty fun movie. You know, all these characters fit the roles that they're playing. The only issue that I kind of have an issue with it, is I just kind of wish you could have made these characters actual animals, or at least an animated movie in some sorts. So, besides that, this movie's pretty enjoyable. Next we have Mission to Mars, and I think that this is another good one. I believe this is based off of the Epcot ride, the space ride that we're riding into space at Epcot, and it did it really well. I pretty much liked it. I thought it was a cool film. It stars Don Cheadle, these people going to space, going to Mars and stuff like that, but once again, it just doesn't have that Disney magic. Some of the characters are kind of fun to explore, but not really a whole lot there. If anything, if I'm talking about the right ride, I think the ride is actually better than the movie. So, that's my opinion. Now we have the new Haunted Mansion from 2023 from last year, and I thought this was a fine enough rendition. I believe this might be based off of more of the Disneyland version of the ride, because if you know me, I've only been to Disney World. I've never been to Disneyland. And I actually rode Haunted Mansion, the ride at Magic Kingdom, 2 times this past trip, and it's a good ride. And with this new rendition starring Owen Wilson and Danny DeVito, it's a fine rendition. There's nothing really special about it, and honestly, it's just kind of forgettable, but it is somewhat kind of good. Now we have the classic Haunted Mansion film starring Eddie Murphy, and I believe this is the film that the Haunted Mansion film from Magic Kingdom is based off of. And if anything, this version of Haunted Mansion is the one I like better, strictly because it's just a better movie. The way that everything is handled, I just think it's overall better done. And really, Eddie Murphy is just funny in this movie. The family within the story is just hilarious. All the ghost characters, they're fun. The big, talking ball character is fun. And just a lot of the creepy elements of Haunted Mansion all come back to this movie. So, yeah, I like 2003 Haunted Mansion. Now we have Pirates of the Caribbean at Stranger Tides, and this one is flawed, but it's still a bit better than the other pirate movies. And of course, I think that this one is one of the more weaker ones, where I feel like the franchise started to get off base. But I will say there are still some good things in here. I think that the action still holds up. The score from Hans Zimmer is still great, and there's plenty of cool, pirate. I love the Ian McKellen pirate character. I like the exploration of mermaids and how that story kind of plays out. But at the same time, not that all these plot lines are bad, but they kind of don't. There's kind of too much going on for me to fully enjoy it. So while this one had some pretty good stuff, it was kind of a lot to endure. So I had a difficult one trying to enjoy this one.
Drop that.
Now we get to Tomorrowland, and this is the Brad Bird film that I guess is based off of the entirety of the land that is at Magic Kingdom, which is the land of Tomorrowland that I am familiar with. And if I'm being honest, as I was watching this movie, it's directed by Brad Bird, so obviously there's a lot of cool things that I thought he did with this film. And it just gave me a lot of, to me, this felt, whenever I go to Magic Kingdom and go to Tomorrowland, it feels like true Disney magic. And in my opinion, it might be my favorite part of the park, as, sure, there's not a lot of stuff to really do there, because, you got a couple rides like Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor and the Buzz Lightyear ride or the People Mover, but to me, Tomorrowland feels like the home of Disney. And for this film, I thought it had a cool, futuristic vibe to it. You have George Clooney in there, so he's kind of fun to watch on screen with these people. There's a couple of cool action sequences that I thought were handled nicely. And the world was kind of cool. And I thought it was enough for me to watch. So that's all I'll say. And now we get a Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest as the sequel to the first Pirates movie. I think this one was definitely good. It's not as good as the first one, but it's definitely a very good film. Once again, you continue these characters and great action sequences, really good score. But I like the way that the story kind of plays in to Jack is trying not to die. and he kind of does end up dying at the end, and basically the next film leads into them trying to save Jack. And for me, it just builds all this great tension within the characters that would happen in the last movie. The characters have to pay for in this one, and it creates a lot of great tension. But at the same time, while I think this movie does a lot of good stuff, I feel like it also introduces the David Jones character, which by far is great for the special effects. But I feel like when it comes to that epicness, it kind of lacks. Where it's like, I want it to go fully epic. It kind of does do that with the rolling thing, with the action and the sword fighting, with the trying to fight the Kraken off. There's plenty of that, but it could have gone so much bigger. And that's part of the reason why I love the third movie, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But yeah, still good, but I wish it could have gone to that epicness level.
That body for me, what? That body for me, work for me, work for me.
And with Jungle Cruise, I think that this was a pretty fun adventure film. You of course get Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Emily Blunt in this film, and I'm pretty sure that the Jungle Cruise ride that they're talking about is the one from Disneyland, not Magic Kingdom, which throughout this movie, I was kind of confused as to like, how do you make a film about the classic Disney ride, but make it into a ride where it's basically up on a boat the whole time? And it's pretty funny. You're exploring tribes, but even in the Disney World ride, they had times where you would travel through the tribes. So there's plenty of that through there, and this magical tree they have to find. So, and it has plenty of good action. It's just an enjoyable Disney movie with two likable leads, and it's a fun one.
That body for me, work. That body for me, what? That body for me, work for me, work.
Now this one, as one of the first pirate movies that I saw just a couple weeks ago, I thoroughly enjoyed the first Pirates movies. And, you know, the only reason why I watched this was kind of what got me started to watch all of the other movies, not just in the Pirate franchise, but the rest of the other Disney theme park adaptations. And it's because in my past Disney trips, I've always gone to go on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, but I went on it not knowing a single thing about the Pirates franchise. And so I decided to go ahead and finally watch this first movie. And it was just it felt so fresh out of the box, where everything feels like something true and like unique, where you have these fun characters with Jack Sparrow and I forgot Orlando Bloom's character, Will Turner, Elizabeth Swann. It introduces this brand new world. You introduce Barbossa as our villain, who is a fun character, but then at the same time, you just get all these fun action sequences with swordplay that, in some ways, are possibly some of the best sword fighting I've ever seen. But then you also just get this great score that is just phenomenal. But then you also just get these great special effects that are groundbreaking, with these special effects that with the skeletons, and you better start believing in Ghost Stories, Miss Turner. You're in one. Such classic stuff. And the only reason why it's not number one is because while I think it introduces a lot of the greatness of it, it doesn't feel as epic. It's showing you what you can do, but in later films, in another film we'll talk about in a minute, they truly fulfill that. And I think that this one was the introduction to that. Other film does it way better. And yeah, I think At World's End is easily the best Disney theme park adaptation. And there's just a lot of great reasons for that. This one, I feel like of all the films on this list, feels like an actual piece of film. Where, sure, not all the story elements of the movie makes sense. Some of it is kind of wonky. But this is the true epicness of what a Disney theme park adaptation is supposed to be. It's fun. All the action sequences are done really well. But what makes it even better is you have all the special effects stuff with Barbossa, everything, but all the action is practical. And you even have and even the way they use the characters in this movie were also really well done. Like, you get Barbossa coming back, and you never thought, like, you loved him as a villain, but you never thought how fun it would be of him as a hero, and one of our heroes, to where we're in the third act of the film, and he's doing the thing with the wedding of Elizabeth and Will, and it's so much fun. But you never thought you could actually have a wedding proposal in the middle of a fight as we're fighting pirates left and right. And even the fight in this movie, the third act, is so much fun and closes out all the characters really well. But even more to that, Jack Sparrow is fun. This might be the best usage of Jack Sparrow's character, especially with all the illusion stuff and seeing different Jack Sparrows here and there. But then also, you just get these shots of like the sky reflecting on the sea. And so it like shows like simple pieces of art. And I'm like, this movie is just, it's incredible to look at. It's incredibly visually stunning, but it's also very fun. The score is great. The action is great. The characters are entertaining. And it's just one of the best Disney theme park adaptations I've ever seen, but also the best pirate movies. And that is my ranking of all the Disney theme park adaptations. Thank you guys for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.